Okay, so remember that app, the one we all downloaded thinking it was the answer to our privacy prayers?
Yeah.
Telegram.
Yeah.
Well, turns out things are getting a little more complicated over there.
Yeah. Really interesting how this is all playing out. It's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah.
Telegram, the supposed like fortress of digital privacy, suddenly changes its tune on user data. Definitely caught my eye too.
Right. We've got these two articles, one from Geplakte Text laying out the basics,
Right.
and another from Tweakers,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Dutch tech site
Yeah.
that really kind of dives into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
And believe me, the details really matter here.
Yeah.
So Telegram is now saying they'll release IP addresses and phone numbers to authorities if they have a warrant or, get this, a valid legal request.
Yeah, see, and that's where, I don't know, the alarm bells start kind of ringing for me a little bit. Valid legal request. I mean, that's pretty vague, wouldn't you say?
Super vague.
It leaves a lot of room for interpretation and potentially, overreach.
Totally. Now, CEO Pavel Durov, he's trying to spin this as a way to protect the majority of users by weeding out criminals.
Right.
He even said, let me see if I can find the exact quote. He said something like, it's about discouraging criminals.
Okay.
But here's the thing. This is a complete U-turn for both Telegram and Durov himself.
Yeah. No, it really is. I mean, their whole brand was built on resisting these kinds of demands. It was
Yeah.
almost unheard of for them to even consider cooperating with governments or law enforcement.
Right.
This new policy, I mean, it really is a seismic shift for them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Which is wild, especially considering Durov's own recent run-in with authorities.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was actually detained in France, accused of letting some pretty nasty stuff slide on Telegram.
Okay.
We're talking allegations of child abuse images and drug trafficking.
Wow.
He denies it, of course. But you have to admit, the timing is interesting.
To say the least. Yeah, it makes you wonder if there's, I don't know what the motivations behind this sudden change of heart are,
For sure.
Like, what's the real reason?
Exactly. And this is why it matters. Even if you're sitting there thinking, Telegram, I haven't used that in years.
Yeah.
This isn't just about one app. This is about the bigger picture of online privacy and how much of it we're willing to sacrifice in the name of security.
I agree. It's a slippery slope, isn't it?
It really is.
And for Telegram's core user base, this is a huge deal.
Yeah.
We're talking about people in countries with, shall we say, less than stellar human rights records.
Right?
They flocked to Telegram because it felt like a safe space, a place where they could speak their minds without fear of Big Brother watching.
Absolutely. Which is why this news has people like John Scott Railton, a senior researcher at Citizen Lab, seriously concerned. He's saying there's a lot of fear in those communities about whether Telegram can really be trusted to protect them going forward.
Yeah, I can see why they'd be worried. It calls into question the whole idea of a privacy haven in the digital age,
Teddy.
Can any platform truly guarantee your data is safe? Or is it just a matter of time before they all cave to pressure?
Yeah, and that's not the only thing they're being vague about. The Tweakers article points out that even before all this, Telegram was already getting some flack for its kind of hands-off approach to content moderation.
Yeah, that tracks. I mean, compared to a platform like WhatsApp, owned by Meta, Telegram has always been a bit of a Wild West, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
There's a lot less oversight,
Yeah.
which of course, can be a double-edged sword,
For sure.
good and bad.
Definitely. But this new policy throws a real wrench into things.
Yeah.
Up until now, they only shared user data in suspected terrorism cases.
Right.
But now they've broadened it to any criminal activities,
Ugh.
which, let's be honest, is a pretty big umbrella.
It is a very broad term.
Yeah.
And a lot harder to define. I mean, one person's criminal activity is another person's political dissent, right?
No, that's it.
That's where things get really dicey.
Exactly.
And who's to say what's right and wrong?
And Durov's claim that they've got this new moderation team and some like fancy AI flagging inappropriate content.
Right.
Well, experts aren't convinced that's enough.
Yeah. And Daphne Keller from Stanford's Center for Internet and Society, she makes a really important point here.
Okay.
Simply hiding content isn't going to cut it legally, especially in places like France, which are cracking down hard on this stuff.
Yeah.
They want platforms to be proactive, not reactive. They want that content gone, not just hidden in a dark corner of the internet.
Right. They're not messing around.
Not at all.
So what does all this mean for the average user?
Right.
That's what we'll unpack next. So if Telegram is out, what are the alternatives? Are there any good ones? The Tweakers article actually had a bunch of comments from readers debating this, and it got pretty heated.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I can imagine.
it's like that age-old question. Do you choose convenience or security? And in the world of messaging apps, there's no easy answer,
For sure.
right? Some people were all about Signal, praising it as the best alternative to WhatsApp, especially with that end-to-end encryption. It's like the Fort Knox of messaging apps.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Except, and this is a big caveat,
Yeah.
getting all your friends and family to switch over can feel like an uphill battle.
That's always the problem.
It is.
It's like, what good is a super secure messaging app if you're the only one using it?
Right. It's like you're shouting into the void.
Exactly.
And then you have the Threema fans out there.
Okay.
They're all about that Swiss hosting, which, let's be real,
Yeah.
that's a major selling point for some people.
No kidding. Being outside of U.S. jurisdiction, that's a big deal for anyone concerned about data privacy. But again, we're talking trade-offs.
Yeah.
Threema isn't free, and it has a much smaller user base than some of these other options.
Right. It's that whole popularity versus privacy thing again. And get this, some people were even suggesting, like, going old school, like, remember texting.
Like SMS texting. SMS.
Wow, talk about a blast from the past.
Right.
But, in a way, I kind of see where they're coming from. It highlights how we've come full circle. I mean, SMS is about as basic as it gets, right? But it's also universally accessible. Like, everyone with a phone number can use it.
Right. And let's not forget, SMS has its downsides, too.
For sure.
It lacks the security features of these newer apps, and let's be honest, trying to have a nuanced conversation over text message. Oh, I know.
That's rough.
It's like trying to write a novel in 140 characters or something,
Painful.
Yeah.
And that's the crux of it, isn't it? There's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to online privacy. The best choice for you really depends on your individual needs and what you're willing to compromise on.
Exactly. Do you value widespread adoption and ease of use, or are you willing to sacrifice some convenience for, the peace of mind that comes with stronger security measures? It's a personal decision.
It really is.
And there's really no right or wrong answer.
It's almost like we need a degree in this stuff just to message our friends these days.
Right. It's definitely a lot to keep up with, that's for sure.
It is. But there's something, maybe hopeful about that whole debate that was happening in the Tweakers comments.
Oh, yeah.
It showed me that people are paying attention, It's not just blindly downloading whatever's popular. They're asking tough questions, weighing the pros and cons, really thinking about these choices.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what we need more of. Critical thinking, informed decision-making. Like, we have to be willing to challenge the status quo when it comes to this stuff,
It's true. For a long time, this whole online privacy thing felt kind of abstract.
Totally. Like something only, techie people in their basements were worried about.
Right. But now it's like it's hitting closer to home for everybody.
It really is. And it's not just about protecting our data anymore, right? It's our freedom of expression, our right to privacy, our ability to just live our lives online without constantly looking over our shoulders.
That's exactly it. Which brings us back to Telegram. This whole thing feels like a real turning point, a wake-up call. We can't just assume our privacy is a given online.
It's something we have to actively fight for, both in the choices we make and by holding these companies accountable.
Totally. And it's not about finding that one perfect app that's going to solve everything. It's about understanding every single choice. It comes with trade-offs.
Right. No magic bullet.
So for someone listening who's just trying to navigate this whole thing without, losing their mind, what's the takeaway? Where do we even begin?
Well, first of all, don't panic. It's easy to get overwhelmed, right? But there are things we can all do.
Okay, yeah, give us the cheat codes.
Start with yourself. Ask, what's actually important to me? Is it convenience? Security above all else, complete anonymity. Once you know your priorities, then you can start making choices that actually align with them.
Makes sense. It's like anything else, right? You get what you pay for. And sometimes the price of convenience is giving up a bit of privacy.
Exactly. But it's about making that choice consciously. Don't just blindly click agree on those terms of service. Read them, do a little research, and hey, don't be afraid to ask questions.
And remember, you are not alone in this. This conversation is happening everywhere these days, around dinner tables, in the news, online. The more we talk about it, the more we demand better, the more likely we are to actually see some real change. So next time you're about to send that message, just take a second. Think about the journey it takes, the servers it goes through, the companies that might be watching, and ask yourself, Am I cool with that?
It's about being mindful, right?
Totally.
Our online lives are real life, and the decisions we make online, they have real-world consequences.
Well said. Well, this has been quite the deep dive. Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this journey. And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you next time.